You're going to be moving to Atlanta, not so fast. You may not want to after I uncover 5 shocking things about Atlanta. At least to me, when I moved here, I had no idea about it. And no, I'm not talking about the bad traffic or the hot summer months. Yes, we do have those, but there's some other things that I was really not prepared for when I moved to Atlanta. And so I'm going to share those with you and make sure that it's a good fit for you. And I do hope you still move to Atlanta, but at least you'll be well prepared. And wait till I get to number 5. That one I had no clue about when I was looking at homes, and I really had to educate myself on. So let's get into it. Let's talk all about living in Atlanta right now. Hey, my name is Molly and welcome to my channel. If you're new or returning and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button, give this video a like, and hit that bell if you want to be one of the first to be notified when I do post another video about the Atlanta area. But you guys, I love hearing from you. I get your texts, your calls, your emails, and I just want to help you out and find you a place to call home here in the Atlanta area that fits your lifestyle and your budget. So don't hesitate to reach out. This is what I love to do. I love helping you guys find a place to call home. So let's get into it. So some shocking truths about Atlanta. You know, everyone likes to talk about how much stuff they love about Atlanta, but there's some bad stuff, okay? And I'm not saying that it's like the end of the world, but you know, coming from different parts of the country, you may find that some of the stuff is just different and you're not used to it. So I'm going to go over 5 different things that I found when I moved here were a little bit different what I was used to. I lived in Kansas and Houston, so I've only lived in a couple of other states, but found the stuff a little bit different. So all right, let's get into it. Number 1, so if you're looking to live in this city, not the suburbs, which this may apply in the suburbs as well, but if you're looking inside the city limits, inside I-285, there's going to be a lot of homes that do not have a garage, and that's the thing, lack of garages. Now, there's a lot of homes that do, don't get me wrong, especially a lot of the newer builds that are going up in Atlanta, they've got garages. But there's a lot of these older homes, they don't have space for a garage, and you'll most likely have a long driveway, and we call this a tandem driveway, where you can park cars in a row in your driveway, but not side by side. Now, this may sound inconvenient and awkward at first, and I will say that's one thing I had to give up. You know, in Houston everyone had a garage, and we came here, the location that we wanted, this house in particular doesn't have a garage, and that's just kind of par for the course around here. And we had to learn to adapt and learn how to do kind of the do-si-do of cars. And I'm kind of laughing because when we moved to Houston, so my car was an automatic, my husband's was a manual. I don't know how to drive a manual. He tried to teach me a couple of times, and I think we're just better off not having me learn, because I think my husband was probably gonna throw a brick at me or something with me trying to learn. It was pretty awful. So we quickly sold that car and he bought an automatic car, because it was pretty much a hassle of, you know, if he was blocking my car, I couldn't move it. I'd have to go get my husband to move his car so I could back out. Anyway, life is better that we both have cars that we can both drive, but it was something you had to get used to, because, you know, when it rains or God forbid it snows and you got kids to tow to school in the middle of the rain, like, yeah, you don't have a garage, you have to use that umbrella. It's kind of a pain, but I will say a lot of people get used to it, and it's just something that is prominent here especially in the in-town Atlanta area. So if there's a certain neighborhood that you're targeting, you will probably have to pay attention of whether it has a garage or not. And if it does have a garage, you're probably going to be paying a lot more for it. So that is one thing that I had to give up here in Atlanta. I know in the future, if I buy another house, it's going to have a garage, but you get used to it. But it is something that you would have to adjust to, especially if you're looking in the city of Atlanta. Now, if you're looking in the burbs, most suburban homes are going to have a garage, and you probably won't have to worry about that as much. But yeah, in the city, garages are just a specialty. Alongside not having a garage, you know, if you live in the city, there are a lot of car break-ins, unfortunately. So if you are parking your car on the street or even in your driveway, there are a lot of people that come and rummage through those cars. So We always say, you know, keep your car clean. Don't leave anything in your car that you don't want to get stolen. We've actually had our car broken into 2 or 3 times. You know, we started moving our car in the driveway, didn't have as many problems. And I will say now, my husband still parks his car in the street. We haven't had a problem in quite a number of years, but it is something that happens. You just get these random car break-ins, you know, the smash of the window, or sometimes one time we had some naughty words written on the roof of our car, just a random person. It wasn't really, I don't think, targeted, just someone just not having a good day. So it is something, again, living in the city, you do just need to remember to keep your car clean and leave all valuables out of the car. 2 on my list would have to be falling trees. Now, I love the trees of Atlanta. It makes our city really beautiful, but man, you got to take care of them. Have an arborist on call. That was something I was not used to. In fact, when we moved to our house, and within 6 months of living in our new house, we just bought a tree fell on the roof of our house like at 2 or 3 in the morning when there was a storm. So yeah, when we get these high winds and these storms, trees tend to fall over or fall down, and sometimes they fall on homes. They can do some damage. Luckily, in our case, it didn't really do that much damage. We were all okay. But yeah, we had to call up our neighbor and say, hey, do you have a number of an arborist? We didn't know any. So that is one thing you're just going to know, like if you buy a home with trees in the yard, get an arborist out there once a year to check on the health of those trees. And not even just like big trees falling, but sometimes just big branches fall. Actually, one of our neighbors' branches fell on our driveway, smashed the roof of my husband's car, and we had to get it fixed. So there's a lot of problems with these beautiful trees. And another thing is, like, a lot of our power lines are not buried in the city. Like, none of them are. So when we get these big high wind storms, those trees fall and they're going to fall on power lines, cuts out the power for a neighborhood for a while. It's just a big, big mess. So just be prepared that if you're buying a house with a tree, make sure you have an arborist on call, because you never know when those trees are going to fall down. All right, number 3 on my list is cockroaches. Oh, they're so gross. Now, I grew up in Kansas. We didn't have cockroaches as much. It was crickets. I got used to that. But cockroaches are just nasty. I hate killing them. They have this nasty crunch, and they're fast little suckers too. And they can squeeze into the tiniest little spaces too. But I know they were in Houston as well. I just didn't feel like I encountered them as much as I do here in Atlanta. Now, you can get your house sprayed for bugs and termites and that kind of thing, but those cockroaches still appear, and it is something you just got to get used to. Make sure you learn how to use that shoe or whatever you're going to use to kill those suckers. And it's just a part of living here in the South with the cockroaches and mosquitoes too. I will say the mosquitoes can be pretty thick. So if you're buying a house and it's got a very shaded backyard, very thick shrubs, just be prepared for those mosquitoes. They are pretty relentless. Number 4 on my list would be the Georgia gun laws. Now, I lived in Houston where they had, concealed weapon laws. I grew up in Kansas where I was surrounded by guns because my brother and my dad, they all hunted. So I'm pretty used to guns being around, but Georgia just passed a bill in April of 2022. Now, basically, you can carry a concealed gun without a permit. So if you're coming from a state where gun laws were a lot more strict, just know that here people can be packing heat. And, does that mean that I'm walking around fearing for my life every day in the park? No, but it is something that you're just going to have to know. And, don't make someone mad on the road, because you never know when they'll pull out a gun. All kidding aside, though, I know this created some big waves, in Atlanta in September. Over at Piedmont Park, they do a big music festival, a 2-day music festival there called Music Midtown. And this year they actually canceled it because of this new gun law, basically because the event people were not comfortable with people just being able to freely bring in guns to this music event. So they completely canceled the whole thing. Obviously, all the Music Midtown goers are super devastated, and there was a bunch of uproar about it, but it is what it is. And just know that, there's definitely looser gun laws here in Georgia. Number 5 on my list. Now this is one I mentioned at the beginning of my video. This was a complete shocker to me when I was looking at homes in the Atlanta area. And you know, Atlanta is full of old homes, and a lot of these old homes are built on crawl spaces.
What in the what? A crawl space? Huh?
So yeah, a crawl space. I'm not used to that. I grew up in Kansas. Everyone had a basement. I lived in Houston. There were slabs. There weren't even basements in Houston. So coming to Georgia, yeah, a lot of these old homes are built on crawl spaces, and essentially what it is your home is built up on little stilts basically to keep some distance between the ground cover and your house. Now this had a lot of advantages back in the day. One, you could put all your mechanics down there, like your AC, your heater, your hot water heater. And you know, if you ever wanted to do a remodel and change some of the plumbing around, you could easily do so. Just go up in the crawl space, you know, make your changes, and voila, you're done. Versus, you know, if your home's built on a slab, then you're going to have to drill up concrete to change any kind of plumbing, that kind of thing. So access to that kind of stuff was a huge advantage. Now, with the crawl space, there comes a lot of problems that can happen if you don't know how to take care of your crawl space. Now, I remember going down to a crawl space the first time when I was searching for homes, and I was like, what is this? I saw, you know, dirt floors, and sometimes they were musty smelling. They can be dark and dingy, and others can be fairly okay if you're taking care of it. And the problems that arise with not taking care of a crawl space is you get moisture in that crawl space area. If it's not properly ventilated and the air's not circulating through the crawl space area, it can build up moisture, and then moisture turns into mold. It can rot your wood, and there's also, you know, termite activity that can happen down there. So you really got to be paying attention to a multitude of factors that could be causing mold, wood rot in your crawl space area. Now, I know mold can sound scary, and I will say every time I get a client getting a home inspected in the crawl space, I feel like 9 times out of 10 that inspector is finding mold in the crawl space. It can be remediated. It's not the end of the world. We're in the South. There's high humidity, mold's gonna happen, but you know, you just gotta know how to treat it, and then moving forward, make sure it doesn't come back. There's preventative measures that you can take to keep that mold from reoccurring. Some things you can do to prevent that would be what they call a vapor barrier. It's essentially like a big plastic sheet that you put over any kind of ground cover. That creates a barrier for any ground moisture from coming up into the crawl space air and creating humidity and moisture that way. Another thing is to get a dehumidifier. I had to get one in my basement when I bought our house, and that helps just keep that air dry in that crawl space area. So there's things that you can do to prevent it, but another one would be that, you know, make sure that there's no water that is coming into your crawl space creating moisture issues. And that's one big thing here in Atlanta. We get those rainfalls, and then you got to see where that water is going. If it's going to the house, you're going to get water in your basement. That's going to create mold. So that's just another side thing that you need to pay attention to is where is that water going. But yeah, taking care of a crawl space is a whole different beast, and you really got to learn a little bit more about it. So there you go. Crawl spaces, they can be a blessing and a curse. Guys, that's my 5 things that may be a little bit of a shock to you if you are going to move here to Atlanta. So now you know, and you can go from there. But if you have questions about any of this, or you're thinking about moving either tomorrow or next year, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. I love hearing from you, and I can't wait to help you out. So until next time, you guys, I'll see you around the neighborhood.